So, I guess moving on to the next point of discussion I have on here, a while ago, I don't remember if this was on my Jacob Boyer Media account or my just personal Instagram account, but I put out a thing where I was talking about the Oscars and what my favorite movies of the year were. And I had a poll where I was like, what were your guys' favorite movies of the year? And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I'm not wrong, because then this whole thing kind of falls apart here. But I think you put in that you said Star Wars, the new Star Wars was your favorite movie that came out this year?
I absolutely love the new Star Wars movie. I understand people's points of views with it, but I absolutely loved it. I think it was a good end to the saga, so...
All right, so then, yeah, talk about that, because I'm not, like, I definitely watched all the movies, but I'm not big into it to the point where people are like, oh, man, the prequels are the worst things ever, or like, oh, man, the sequel trilogy is so bland, remember, like, I'm not as big into the fandom as most people are, but, so I don't really, like, I mean, I listen to a lot of the critiques that people have, and I don't understand a lot of it, just purely coming from that point of, like, not being as big a fan as most people generally are, but what are your thoughts on, like, the I guess, like, what are your favorite parts of the series as a whole?
So, fun fact, I actually hated Star Wars up until senior year of college when Megan, who is my spouse, made me sit down and watch the original, so 4, 5, and 6, which are the original. And I had been that person that was like, no, I don't want to watch Star Wars, I don't want to get into that fandom. And I saw those first 3 movies and absolutely fell in love with it. Just the way that they did it, the music is phenomenal. And it was just a different concept. I know people argue Star Trek and all of that. I've never seen a Star Trek movie, so I will not voice my opinion on that. 1, 2, and 3, which are the prequels that everyone talks about, I love the storyline. I love Anakin. But I hate watching those 3 movies because you grow this soft spot for Darth Vader's character before he was Darth Vader. And watching him fall into that pit of darkness to just protect to protect the people close to him and watch it destroy him just kills me. And I'm just like, oh, lovely. So Megan loves the first 3. So we always argue when we're like, oh, what Star Wars movie do you want to watch? And she's like, I want to watch number 2. And I'm like, no, thank you.
So it's a divided household amongst the prequels.
Always. I honestly really like the new trilogy. I've gotten into several debates with like my brother and people that have seen it about Rey's character being very, what is the term? Like Mary Jane or something along those lines?
Like damsel in distress kind of thing? Or
no, it's my brother used the term to describe her character, and it's very bland.
Oh, plain Jane. That's what it is. Yeah. I've heard that before.
Very stereotypical. Girl starts off super fending for herself and then becomes this like super like bad like I'm gonna say badass. If you want to edit that out,
no. Yeah, no. You can swear as much as you want. I don't care about that.
But she becomes this like super badass character, and of course she's got the guys that are kind of Megan Sells self-sufficient, which I agree with. I think Rey is very self-sufficient, but then she's got like the stereotypical guys fawning all over her, which I don't necessarily see in the 3 movies. I see other people's perspectives with it, but I absolutely love them. I actually have a porg tattooed on me.
Oh. And I saw you did because you do crocheting and stuff on the side, right? And I thought I saw some Star Wars stuff that you had done.
I did a Baby Yoda.
Aww.
I have not watched The Mandalorian yet, so I don't have an opinion on that. But fun fact about porgs, they were actually created to cover the puffins up in the island that they were filming in. It was easier to put a creature over top of the puffins than it was to erase them.
That's an interesting point. I didn't know that. But that totally makes sense.
Hence porgs. Because everyone's like, oh, they're useless. But you only really see them on that island. You don't see them anywhere else except for the couple that sneak onto the Millennial Falcon because they made a nest. Millennium.
Yeah.
I just got corrected. I'm a fan, but I get the names wrong.
Best kind of fan. So you said that I guess you said you prefer the original trilogy. I guess that I'd safe to say that that's your favorite of the three arcs to that story, I guess.
No, I really could watch the next set, so 7, 8, and 9 on repeat as well. That and Solo, which is another arc completely.
Right.
Could watch that one on repeat as well. I just think that it was a good addition, even though a lot of people say that it wasn't needed.
What did you think about the what's the other one?
Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah.
I thought that is a movie that I could watch again and again and still learn something new. But I don't cry for movies, but that and Star Wars 9, I cried at the end. You get so attached to the characters, and especially over 7, 8, and 9, you just get so attached. I won't give any spoilers, but I got so attached to several characters, and watching the movie progress, I was like, well, there goes the end of a saga and my characters.
Oh. It was, I think, like, all things considered, with the fact that Carrie Fisher died in between 8 and 9, and they changed directors kind of at the last second, or directors and writers, I should say, at the last second. I feel like they kind of tried to do the best that they could, but like you said, I do kind of understand a lot of the criticisms that people had with with Episode 9. But I don't I find it interesting, like especially like even with people being like, oh, I don't really like Episode 9 that much. Like, people were like really over the top angry with Episode 8, and I don't understand. Like, again, it's I can definitely tell that there's problems with it, but like, I don't understand how anyone got that upset over that movie. Do you identify at all with that kind of reaction for 8, or do you not really get it either?
I was so confused. I know a lot of people got upset with Rose's character.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went to, help me with a name, the gambling planet. Do you remember the exact?
I don't even remember.
Sorry, Megan's sitting on the couch next to me, so I thought she would remember the name of it. But when they were on the planet picking up the code breaker.
Yeah.
I thought that scene brought a lot of light onto why the rebellion was extremely important. A lot of people argued that scene was completely irrelevant, that they didn't need to have Rose and Finn like together getting the code breaker. It was just really frustrating. And a lot of people actually, the actress for Rose dreamed of being in Star Wars, and she actually had to delete her social media accounts because of how much she was being harassed.
Yeah, I heard that. That really sucks.
For a fandom that's supposed to be like super nerdy and you get it, like nerds are stereotypically bullied, the Star Wars fandom can be very vicious for no reason.
Yeah,
I think it was a great addition.
Yeah, I don't like the whole anger. I can understand with like being a fan of something and being like really heavily invested in a storyline and like the way things evolve and change for the characters over time. But I think that honestly, like the biggest detriment to Star Wars as like a concept or as a franchise are the fans, because I think a lot of the it's a double-edged sword, because like a lot of the complaints that people had with Episode 8, it feels like they tried to fix in Episode 9 with like minimizing Rose's character or trying to keep the action moving along more frequently, because a lot of people complained about the scenes on that gambling planet, and then I think a lot of those like things that people like they tried to change in 9 ended up being complaints that people had about Episode 9 when that one came out. So it just seems like there's no real way to please the fans.
There isn't, and I think that goes for any franchise too. With that, a lot of people were mad when Disney bought that franchise And I think that's when a lot of the complaints started. It wasn't necessarily that they were upset with the way the storyline was going. It was just Disney now owns this.
Mm-hmm.
So now they expected a whole lot less, which honestly, I think with Disney purchasing it, they were able to get access to a lot of different things
right.
that they weren't able to have in previous movies. And I don't think it was any less slow than the previous movies. I think it added that little bit of taking that step back. Even with the original 4, 5, and 6, there were parts that were not action-packed. They were slower and gave a little more background, a little more detail into what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. So I guess one question I feel like I have to ask before we move on from this topic is if you let's say you have 2 hours to kill and someone's like, you can watch one Star Wars movie and one Star Wars movie only, you can't pick and choose parts from all of them, which episode are you going to put on?
I got 2 different answers. It's either 7 or 8 I would watch, just because I love porgs. I am absolutely obsessed, and that is one of the main reasons I actually sat down to watch the movie, is I wanted to buy a stuffed porg in Target, and Megan told me that unless I saw the movies, I was not allowed to buy the porg. So we ended up binge watching all of the movies and then went to the theater the next day to go see the new one.
That's a hell of a marathon.
Oh my goodness. Would not suggest it.
And then I guess I don't know. I'm looking at one thing I was hoping to run by. I think I might still be able to in regards to the whole episode 9 issue. One other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was I said it a little bit earlier that originally Colin Trevorrow was supposed to write and direct episode 9. Let me pull up his IMDb. I know he's famous for the Jurassic World movies, and he was slated to write and direct episode 9, and he dropped out. I don't remember quite why, but apparently either shortly before or right after episode 9 came out, there was a script leak where someone released his version of episode 9 that was very, very different than the episode 9 we got. I'll run a few things by you, and I see if you think. I guess we'll do. Was this better or worse than what we got? If anyone wants to read this article, I'm looking at Collider's Star Wars 9 plot summary. I think is the name of the article. I'll link it in the description. Okay. I'll just read this paragraph right off, and you can give me your opinion on it. As for Reylo, well, Kylo Ren still dies at the end of the. So actually, first of all, okay, so the episode 9 was originally going to be called Duel of Fates, named after that like one sting from episode 1. Everyone always talks about the which, I mean, probably aside from the theme is the most recognizable piece of music from that whole saga, if we're honest with ourselves. Okay, and then this paragraph. As for Reylo, well, Kylo Ren still dies at the end of Duel of Fates, but his arc in the film, as well as Rey's, is completely different. For one, there's no Emperor Palpatine. At the beginning of the movie, Kylo Ren has vanished off to Mustafar, Darth Vader's lava planet, and is wallowing around in Vader's old castle. There, he's haunted by the forced ghost of Luke, and even fights a hallucinatory version of Darth Vader, a la Luke's fight in the cave. So I guess they were going to do like a thing from Empire Strikes Back, but instead of Luke and Vader and Kylo Ren, we're going to have a lightsaber battle. That sounds pretty badass. Jeez.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
So I guess it would, I don't know, like I don't know quite how I feel about that, because I mean, like, one other thing that I do kind of one of my gripes with the sequel trilogy is that in some way each movie kind of feels like a remake of 4, 5, and 6, if you know what I mean. Like 7 feels kind of like a soft remake of episode 4. 8 kind of feels like a remake of 5, and 9 a remake of 6 a little bit. Do you find that at all, or not? Or do you kind of look past that?
See, I think I look past it. I also feel like I could see where you're coming from with that, with the...
There's definitely very similar plot elements in each one, corresponding to the original trilogy, but it's not
Yeah,
like an
but
outright copy.
no, I don't think it's an outright copy. I think they went their own path with it. I think they did take things from the previous 6 movies because they even pulled from like 1, 2, and 3, even just character design wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, in costume design, all of that, I think you could say that it was like a repeat, and I put that in quotation marks, but I think that's something that is easily looked past because the storyline veers differently, if that makes sense.
No, I gotcha. That makes sense. And then continuing on with the summary, we got, okay, so, all right, he's haunted by the forced ghost of Luke Skywalker, even fights in a hallucinatory version of Darth Vader. Kylo comes in contact with the Sith teacher, with Palpatine's Sith teacher, Tor Valum, via an ancient Sith device, as he's trying to put an end to the Jedi and the Sith once and for all. But he's bad in this version of the story. He's gone full Heisenberg, so to speak. Rey, meanwhile, still believes there's good in Kylo Ren and has teamed up with Poe to put an end to the Jedi Sith in her own way. Another story point this film picks up from the ending of The Last Jedi. And Rey's parents are still nobodies, but Kylo Ren killed them at the behest of Snoke. Then I guess for what we got was Rey is Palpatine's secret grandchild. And
See, I loved that.
really, I find that interesting because that was one of the things I heard people like really didn't like about.
Oh my gosh,
about
I heard his laugh in the trailer. I dropped my phone and screamed. I was so excited. And I have some really picky friends with movies. Like, I have several friends that we cannot agree on a movie for the life of us, but when those friends came over, I showed them the trailer and they had the same reaction that I did.
It is one of those unifying franchises.
It brought back that like bit of I say childhood because college is basically childhood all over again, except that you're actually a fledgling adult.
Definitely.
So I absolutely loved that they brought him. I put back in quotation marks because I need to watch that movie again. Because there's a lot of little details that I didn't pick up on.
Yeah.
But loved it. Keep going. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I definitely don't want to just be reading this plot summary the entire time. So any thoughts you have, definitely feel free to interject. But no, it's one other thing that I kind of was bothered by about the fact that they brought him back is that it didn't make any sense to me, like how he came back. And then I read somewhere, I think they explained in like the novel version of episode 9 that it's either the version of him we see in episode 9 is a clone, or the one that we had seen the entire time from episode 1 all the way through episode 6 was a clone, and that the one that we are seeing in 9 is the original version.
Really interesting concept. I mean, that would explain being hooked up to all the tubes.
Mm-hmm. I do like a lot of people thought it was really corny, but I do like the some of the callback lines that he had throughout that entire movie, even though he wasn't really in it all that much. Like where he's like, there are many aspects of the dark side some would consider to be unnatural. Or I watched it with a friend of mine who's a really, really big Star Wars fan, and when he did his when I forget what the context of the scene was, but he I think he tells Rey, he goes, "Do it," like that one moment that always gets memed from episode 3, and my friend just lost it in his seat. But yeah, okay. So then continuing on with the plot. Rey's parents are okay. So yeah, Rey's parents were still generic nobodies, but Kylo Ren killed them at Snoke's order. So it was, I guess there was going to be some big discovery where Rey finds out that, well, actually that doesn't really make much sense then. If they're nobodies, why would Kylo be made to kill them? Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's already a plot hole. Very, very wide. I would not be thrilled. to watch that movie if so far what you're explaining was how the movie went.
Well, I do like that idea of like Darth Vader coming back for a hallucination, but I don't know.
Well, that's the thing though too, is that when Darth Vader went into the Force, he didn't go as Darth Vader, he went as Anakin Skywalker. So coming back as Darth Vader I understand that it's a hallucination.
Yeah. I don't think
even that concept.
Yeah, I get it, but I feel like it would be kind of considered two different, like it wouldn't really necessarily be considered like him coming back. It would be like Kylo's own head, like kind of playing tricks with him. I would imagine is how they would do it. Okay. And then, so then the finale of the movie finds Rey and Kylo Ren duking it out on the mystical planet Mortis, with Rey getting an assist from the Force ghosts of Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda. The Jedi try unsuccessfully to bring Kylo Ren back into the light, but he's too far gone, and in the end, he is extinguished.
Nope, would not be happy with that at all.
I remember seeing concept art for this too, and it kind of did like almost like a Harry Potter, like that train station thing that happens at the end of 7 Part 2 or whichever the last Harry Potter movie was, where
7 Part 2.
Yeah, where he finds Dumbledore in that like white void or whatever, and it kind of looked like that from what I understand. Where like Rey was just gonna wake up like in the Force, I guess, and then Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda were gonna be there to like offer her words of encouragement or something. There's a I forget which what YouTuber did this, but someone did they animated a it was, I want to say it's like maybe like a 15-minute long version of the plot summary of this movie. So if anyone wants a more like not as jilted and terribly broken down as I just did it version, I'll try and find that and link that into the description as well. Also, I wish I could remember names, but if you're watching this and you're a huge fan of Star Wars and you're like really not fond of the prequels, there's another channel, I forget, I wish I could remember who did it, but he rewrote the entirety of the prequel trilogy for the sole reason of trying to hide the fact that Anakin turns into Darth Vader, so that way you could start at episode 1 and not have the twist spoiled for you in episode 5, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I don't remember which it's several different videos, but if I can find them, I'll definitely link those in the description so you guys can check them out. But yeah, so I guess on the whole, Star Wars is just one of those things that I don't think we'll ever be fully satisfied by, or well, the fans rather, the hardcore fans will ever be really fully satisfied by.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you take it and you leave it. You can be a huge fan of any series and still have things you like, you hate, and sometimes the fandom people are way harsher than they need to be.
Exactly. I don't even want to get into the whole Star Trek argument.
I have never watched one. I've never watched one. I have no desire to watch one.
I've seen the remakes and I've seen clips of the old show. It just looks like, I'm sure I'm going to get hate for this, but it just looks like an inferior Star Wars. And
I would agree with that one.
In before someone else recommends me to watch Star Trek for an upcoming episode, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.